We begin with already high gas prices. They're ticking up even higher. Food, housing, and car prices are spiking too. President Biden is expected to address the growing crisis today in a speech from the White House. CBN's Jenna Browder has that story from Washington.
Americans are feeling it in the pocketbook, with gas prices at an all-time high and other basics like food spiking. The president knows it's a problem he needs to get out in front of in an election year. According to AAA, the national average for a gallon of regular is now $4.37, up 23 cents from last month and a new record high. Some analysts predict an average price as high as $4.50 a gallon by summer. And it's not just gas. According to the latest Consumer Price Index report, food at home prices have risen 10% in the last 12 months, marking the largest 12-month increase since 1981. Prices for meat and eggs increased more than 13% over the last year, while beef rose 16%. What's more, the USDA predicts grocery store prices will jump another 5 to 6% this year. And on Wall Street, stocks deepened their losses on Monday, sending the S&P 500 to its lowest close in more than a year.
The president will be speaking to his plan, his continued plan to continue the fight to address inflation in the coming months.
President Biden is expected to address the growing crisis today at the White House. The speech to highlight steps he's taken to help American consumers, like releasing oil from the strategic reserve, and contrasting it with Republican proposals. Even some Democrats, including President Bill Clinton's Secretary of Treasury Larry Summers, say the Biden administration's big spending packages increase the surge in inflation. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki taking this pointed question from a reporter.
As we look ahead to tomorrow's inflation speech, let me ask you to look back at some of the warnings that were issued last year by Summers and Ratner and so on. In retrospect, were they right that some of the government policies were going to lead to inflation?
I wouldn't say we agreed with them then, and we don't agree with them now.
And President Biden's speech comes just one day before a key inflation report is released. One prominent analyst believes it will show the rate of inflation last month was below the 8.5% rate we saw in March, an indicator inflation may have finally peaked. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
With us now is our CBN News financial editor, Drew Parkhill. Drew, the White House says they don't agree with economists who warn that there'd be a surge in inflation. So who's right?
Well, obviously, the Democratic economists who warned about this were absolutely right. You know, Democrats might have poo-pooed this, but Jason Furman, who worked with the Obama economic team, he surveyed price increases around the world, including the United States, and we have much higher inflation here. What was the difference? The huge stimulus money. And that's what he attributes our higher inflation to. And Steve Ratner, who is also an Obama economic advisor, said this is Biden's inflation and he needs to own it. So their warnings came to pass, and now because of government spending, that's what made high inflation much higher.
Wow, so that stimulus money really made a difference. People are thinking, wow, I'm getting free government money, but they're paying now.
Yeah, guess what? Everybody's paying now. That's the big thing.
Yeah, so war in Ukraine, rising crime. So what effect has that had on inflation?
Well, inflation is, the war in Ukraine has made it a little worse. You can't say it's Putin's price hike, but inflation is the #1 political issue because it affects everybody. The White House talks about job growth. Well, that's nice, but that may be somebody down the street. You, on the other hand, are going to the gas pump and you're seeing record gas prices. You're going to the grocery store. You're seeing high food prices. It affects the middle class. It affects people of lower incomes. It really affects even higher income people who have to deal with businesses expenses. So it affects everybody. And people, when prices are going up and your salary is not going up as much, your standard of living is going down. That's why it's the #1 issue.
Yeah, much more extensive than just unemployment, right? It affects, as you say, everyone.
Yeah.
So what about the stock market? Took another big hit on Monday. What do you expect will happen now?
It's going to take a while to work through this. I mean, I had been expecting the market to go down, so it's going to take a while to work through this. But it's not. This isn't going to last forever. Eventually, I mean, we may have a slowdown. We might have a recession. It's hard to say. But there's no question that we'll work through this. I expect in the second half of this decade, stock prices will be going way up and we'll be doing a lot better than what we are now. Expect for the Dow to go over 100,000 within 10, 12 years or so.
Okay, our CBN News financial editor, Drew Parkhill, thank you for being with us.